The time being 7 p.m. and all members of the planning board being present, I call this meeting to order. First item on the agenda item A, approval of minutes from November 3rd, 2025.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I motion to approve the minutes of November 3rd, 2025.
I have a motion made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Okay, motion carries. Moving on to agenda item B, committee reports, administrative action. Are there any committee reports any of the members wish to make at this time?
All set, Mr. Chairman. All set.
All set. All right, moving on to agenda item B2, town planners report. Ms. Lau?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There are two new filings for the December 15th, 2025 Planning Board meeting as follows. There's a special permit application for 960 Main Street and a family suite special permit for 111 Rockville Road. This meeting will also hear any continued applications from this particular meeting. Next item of note, the Tewksbury Community Market has returned to the Senior Center for indoor markets this winter on Thursdays, December 18th, January 8th, and February 12th. The markets will run 4 to 7 like the summer and will feature many of the same vendors as the summer market. And for more details, folks can visit www.tewksburymarket.com. Next item of note, the town will host the annual holiday celebration and tree lighting on Friday, December 5th from 5 to 7 p.m. on the Town Common at 1009 Main Street. Folks can join us for this free event, and it'll be a fun, family-friendly night to include marshmallow roasting, ice sculpture, selfies, warm cider, cookies, and other treats, plus seeing Santa ride in on a fire truck. And for full details, you can visit tewksbury-ma.gov/tree lighting. And last item of note, the town will host a visioning forum to work on the open space and recreation plan update on Monday, December 1st from 6 to 7:30 p.m. at Tewksbury Library. And folks are encouraged to register, but it's not required, at nimcog.org/TewksburyOSRP. And that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item B3, approval of the 2026 meeting calendar dates. So the members have had this for a little while. Does anybody have any issues with any of the dates?
Nothing. I'm all set, Mr. Chairman.
All right, hearing none, then I will entertain a motion to approve the Planning Board 2026 public meeting schedule.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, that we approve the planning board public meeting notice dates as submitted.
All right, I have a
Second.
motion made and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimous. That brings us to agenda item C, 15 and 41 Astle Street. This is continued from our 10-6 meeting.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, David Plunkett, office at 491 Dudden Street, Lowell, Massachusetts, here representing the applicant. With us tonight, in addition to James Andela, a principal member of the applicant, we have Matt Hammer from Landplex, site engineer, Kim Hazavadian, the traffic engineer, and James Jazokas, the architect for the site. Mr. Chairman, since the last meeting before the board, there's been a significant amount of work done and submitted to the board. At this point, one of the key results in this interim period of time was that we're finished with Mass DOT regarding the submittal of information in their analysis of the site. At this point in time, Mass DOT has indicated that they are going to issue the curb cut driveway access for the proposed development. The fee has been submitted to the Mass DOT, and one of the results being that Mass DOT has indicated that they're not looking for any remediation, as a result of the traffic analysis and the curb cut going into the site. As part of the analysis, there was a full traffic report that was prepared. You have a copy of the traffic analysis of the site. And in addition, as part of the overview by Mass DOT, they requested another analysis, another traffic analysis report relative to the Astor Street intersection and the streets coming off of Astor Street. And so that has also been done. So in essence, there's been two full traffic analysis reports submitted to Mass DOT and submitted to the board. As indicated previously, this is, within the domain of Mass DOT. They have jurisdiction over it, and in the peer review analysis that was submitted to the board as part of our submittal, the peer review engineers indicated that they would defer to Mass DOT relative to their analysis of the site and the traffic reports that were submitted. As part of the Mass DOT overview, was 6 engineers working, or?
Yeah.
Approximately 6 engineers working on it, analyzing the data and everything else. So we're happy to say that that's been a very positive result from in this period of time. Part of what we're going to go over tonight, and Mr. Hammer will review, we have a number of the renderings showing the view of the proposed site from different points of view. Again, this is a 55 and older development. This is something that is an allowed use of the site, of the premises, subject to special permit by the board, but it's something that is an allowed use of the site. In light of other uses that could go into a site such as this, I would suggest that this is a very good use of the premises. A residential use in this area would be, very good for the town. It would fit into the site in terms of the fact that you have the LRTA bus stop in front, you have access to restaurants, shopping, market, Walmart is right next door, and they have, the full market capacity there as well. So it's a situation where, we feel that this is a very good proposal, that this is also in keeping with the emphasis in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to produce more residential housing for the benefit of the Commonwealth as a whole, as well as each town that produces housing of this sort. This would be a good opportunity for people who are looking to stay in town, people 55 and older, and they want to remain here. This would be a very good opportunity for them. So it's a accepted use of the premises. I think when you see the renderings that we have, that it fits in nicely to this location. We have all expectations that Mass Highway has finished their analysis, and we will have the curb cut into the premises for the intended use. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Hammer.
Good evening, members of the board. Matt Hammer, Lamplex Engineering, 60 Fletcher Street, Lowell, Mass. So, at the last hearing, there was some comments related to the perspective of the project from Astor Street in Main Street. With that, it was requested to show some specific cross-sections as you would stand on Astle Street in these two locations to get those perspectives of the elevation of the building from Astle Street. And that's what this plan does. It shows where you are existing on Astle Street and the view that you would, or the perspective that you would have off the street. It also shows the trees that also separate that view specifically in this location here. Additionally, there's a cross-section here, and that perspective is also shown. And it's also notable to note that there's trees that separate Astle Street and the project. So we gave some approximated height of those trees, as well as the height of the building and the detail of the height of the building, shown from the grade outside the building to the top of the building. So that was something that was specifically requested that we prepared and submitted to the board. Additionally, in a similar fashion, but utilizing on-street mapping, street mapping, as well as incorporating some of the landscaping that would be incorporated in the project to give you a general idea of what the buildings would look like after coming up Astle Street. So it's coming up into the up Astle. This is the existing duplex off Astle Street. And those are the trees and passive views that you would get of the building. And there's also utility lines on that side of Astle Street. This is a view heading south on Main Street. This is the project here, showing the building coming south. And this here is a perspective view traveling northbound on Astle Street, showing the building as well as the building in the rear, which is shown here as well. See what that perspective would look like. And these were done by the architect as well, James Jokis Architecture, who's also here this evening to answer any questions. This is looking back from across the street at the overall project from Old Main, which is here, showing the project entrance here, the series of retaining walls in the three buildings, and a general scope of the landscaping on the property. So we were asked to also do a photometric study of all the lighting for the project. So this is a foot candles contouring plan to show that there's ultimately zero emittance of light from the project lighting. So this was submitted to the file as well. I know that turning radius for emergency vehicles was also submitted for the project, which this plan represents, as well as this plan showing how vehicles get out onto Astle Street. Emergency vehicles, as we know that there's going to be a gate to that entrance to Astle. This is a landscape plan that was submitted originally, but I just want to let you know that that landscape plan is here for tonight's discussion if need be. And the plan changes to the site plan were primarily related to additional drainage notes, drainage details. And one of the comments that came back from that submission was the sidewalk needing to be handicap conforming from the project. We've spent a considerable amount of time discussing the project with the Architectural Access Board, and we feel as though this project is going to be, would warrant being granted a waiver to those regulations because of the elevation difference, but there is a process to that with the Architectural Access Board. With that, we're able to do that sidewalk fully handicap compliant, but it's going to involve some infrastructure in order to do that in terms of a ramp system on this walkway. So that's what caused some of the delay with getting back in front of the board. But that was the only outstanding comment from the sub-consultant in that regard. And I can put up to the board for any comments. Also want to note that we do have the traffic engineer here, Kim Hazavardian, and we have James Djokis with Djokis Architecture here as well.
Anything else, Mr. Plunkett?
That's it for now, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, all right. So I find myself in the unenviable position of apparently trying to clarify myself yet again. I thought we made it really clear the last time we were here, how important the traffic study was going to be and our needing it, and so that we could get it out to our consultant to have it reviewed, so that we could then be in a position to actually have a conversation about what is probably the single biggest issue with this project. Somehow, it would appear, judging by the responses that the Community Development Department has gotten back, that I did not make that clear enough after multiple attempts to do so. And before somebody tries to tell me that what the Mass DOT has is sufficient, if you don't need a permit from us, then you can just get what you got from Mass DOT and be done. But my guess is you need the permits you've asked for from us. Therefore, what we need is important for us to have any hope of possibly issuing the permits you're requesting, which means we need to have our traffic engineer review the traffic study so that we can discuss it. Please explain to me if what I just said is in any way confusing or unclear before I go any further, because this is now the third meeting that I think I've said clearly enough what we need to have a conversation about this project that in any hope of a way moves this process forward. We've continued. I don't know what the reason for wanting to have this continued further. I suspect I can think of at least one possibility, but I'm not going to get into what that reason probably might be, other than the other possibility that somehow I'm not being clear. So I want to be absolutely crystal clear from both of you, the petitioner, that I have been clear about the need for us to send this to our consultant to be reviewed.
Well, Mr. Chairman, since the last meeting, there's been not one, but two full traffic reports done. And your peer review analysis said that they would defer to Mass DOT.
What did I say? What did this board say the last time we were here?
You said to the,
I don't want to pull out the minutes.
Okay.
I'm telling you that I said we needed to send this to our person to be reviewed.
And is your person the same person that did the?
Again, this is where I think maybe there's confusion, so let's be clear.
Yeah.
This board wants this traffic study, or however many traffic studies you have, sent to our peer reviewer to be reviewed for the board, so the board can have an intelligent conversation about traffic with both you, your traffic engineer, and on behalf of the residents of the town. We cannot do that if we don't get it to our consultant so they can send us their responses for us to understand what they're seeing, what they think, what we might need to ask questions about, what we might need to make conditions regarding. We cannot do that. No one on this board is a traffic engineer. And as good as your traffic engineer might be, he doesn't work for us. He doesn't work for the town. He doesn't work for the residents. Our person has to review this for the board so that we can continue having a conversation about the traffic study. So I'll ask again, am I now being clear that this board wants those traffic studies reviewed by our peer reviewer so that we can have a conversation about the traffic?
And is your peer reviewer TEC?
Is that who we're using? I don't even know.
In the
I know we had bids, so I don't know who the bid came from.
Sure, so we have several standing contracts with peer review engineers, and typically the traffic ones are kicked out to a traffic specialist engineer, Vanessa and Associates, and that is who we have used before.
Okay.
TEC is also capable of conducting peer reviews of traffic studies, but where they are also taking on the bulk of the site review, it's up to the board which one they wanted to go to.
Well, I'm fine with deferring to the community development, who does it. But my understanding is that a bid was given.
Specifically said we respectfully defer to Mass DOT and the board, so.
I understand what that person might have said.
Yeah.
What did I say?
Yeah.
What have I now said numerous times? This is where I think we're getting into the problem, because now we're having a conversation where I've asked now a couple of times if I'm being clear enough.
Yeah.
So apparently I'm not.
Well,
Let me try it again.
all right.
This board wants the traffic studies reviewed by our peer reviewer so that we can continue a conversation about traffic after that peer reviewer has reviewed the traffic and/or traffic studies,
Yeah.
so that we can have a conversation about it. I do not care that Mass DOT has seen them. It means nothing to us. They didn't provide us with a report of any kind, whether it was taking into consideration our bylaws or anything else. They did Mass DOT's thing. That's fine. I'm glad they did, and I'm glad you might be getting your cut permit. But you need something from us. You need several somethings from us. We cannot move forward in that process or consider giving anything
No.
that's being asked for until the traffic studies can be reviewed by our peer reviewer and get us back information that we then have time to look at and be in a position to ask intelligent questions on behalf of the members of the board and/or the residents of this town regarding this project. Now, let me ask one more time. Am I being clear enough that we have to have this done by our peer reviewer and that we're not going to get anywhere beyond that until that's done? We can't move this process forward.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I don't care what anybody else has said before. This is now my third attempt at doing this, and I'd be happy to move this process forward, but I can't do it if somehow my words are not getting through of what will help move this process forward. So I have to have confirmation from you guys this time that I am 1,000% crystal clear about what it is we're looking for regarding the traffic studies.
You've stated, Mr. Chairman.
Okay,
Yeah.
so then when Ms. Louder tries to move that process forward, as she tried to do since the last meeting prior to this meeting, she will not meet with the same resistance she met with already, and questions about whether or not the board really needs to have our peer reviewer review it. That's no longer going to be a problem, right? We now know that that is absolutely what this board is asking for. Yes? Guys, you got to acknowledge it, because I'm not doing this again next time, because this is now my third attempt. I know you don't want to do it. We can stipulate to the fact that you don't want to do it. I'm telling you that unless you can tell me some way that I'm wrong for us asking for it and that we want it, it's going to have to happen. So tell me.
Well, okay, in terms of the actual production of a report, say, it's not that there's been a 5-minute sketch of a paragraph a few, there's been 2 full analysis that have been
That is
performed.
fantastic. And you know what I would love?
Yeah.
To have any idea what they meant.
Yeah.
You know how I would know that? If we could have our peer reviewer look at it and tell us what it says.
Yeah.
You have a professional traffic engineer, correct? That did those reports?
Yeah.
There any up on this board?
No.
Nope. You know what we do because of that? We send it out to our peer reviewers so that we can find out if what your traffic engineer said makes sense to us,
Yeah.
from the town's perspective, from the board's perspective. Your traffic engineer, I presume, is 100% incredible. I do not doubt that. But he does not work for us. He works for the petitioner. We need our person to look at it because that helps the board, and it also gives the residents of this town the comfort to know that the information was viewed by someone who works for them, through us. So that's what I need. That's what this board needs. I can't intelligently have a conversation with you about traffic. I suspect that none of the other members of the board can as well. I mean, we can ask random questions, but that's not going to move this process forward, and it's going to be a waste of everybody's time for us to just ask those kind of things without the information we need. So, again, I think I'm being clear. I'm hoping that I'm being clear, or we're going to find ourselves back here at the next meeting having this conversation for a 4th time. So, I appreciate the other information that's been brought in tonight. That's great. But the traffic thing is important. I've said it now 3 different times, how vital the traffic is to this project, the considerations. You see the room. They didn't come in here to, not to be a wise guy, but they didn't come in to hear the town planner's report. They're here because of this hearing. I'm guaranteeing it. When I start asking people if they have anything to comment on, my guess is they're coming up for this. Okay? It matters to people. It matters to the members of the board. It mattered enough that I've now had to do this 3 times.
No.
Okay? You guys don't want me doing this a 4th time because it doesn't move your process forward. If we want to move this process forward and get to an end point at some point, the traffic needs to be dealt with, and this board cannot move forward on that issue without the information we've asked for, and I've now clarified what we are asking for. If there are any questions, please ask them now.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, can I ask to have a 2-minute break?
Sure.
Thank you.
I'm going to take a 2-minute break. All right, we're going to bring this hearing back into order. Gentlemen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, so that's fine. If Ms. Mrs. Lauder submits to whatever, I assume it won't be TEC, or I don't know. maybe-
Whoever we use,
Yeah.
but, I mean, as I understand it, Ms. Lauder attempted once to send out the bid that we had received for whoever that was for. It doesn't matter to me as much about who we use,
Yeah.
as much as it's one of the ones we use, so whoever's available
Yeah.
and whatever, and that they're one of the ones that we've approved of, then any one of them is fine with the board, as long as they're on our list. But again, I just want to get this process moving, so the sooner we get that stuff squared away and we can get that information out to them, the faster it comes back to us, and we only have one more hearing, for this year. So if we want to be in for that, or you want to be in for that one, we'll be here. That's really going to be on your side to get things rolling.
And just to point out, again, Mr. Chairman, it's not that there wasn't a lot of work done in the interim. There's been a significant amount of work done.
Again, I don't
That's fine,
discount the efforts on the
Yeah.
petitioner's part.
Yeah.
I only question
Yep.
the confusion between what I thought we clearly asked for multiple times now and where we seem to be sitting
Yeah.
regarding those requests at this point. So while you guys have done a lot of work, and I don't discount that, there's clearly some work to be done so that we can move this process forward.
Sure.
So,
Chairman,
with-
just a comment.
yeah, I'm going to go around right now, actually. So with that, if the board has any questions on what you did present tonight, or any other comments they want to make, I'll go around, then we'll open it up to the audience. We'll start with Mr. Fratelli.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Mr. Plunkett, this isn't something new. We do this all the time. We ask for peer reviews on most of the large developments that come in town. So, just so the audience knows, this is the book that we got for the peer, from you guys to go through, And you have to be a traffic engineer to really look at all these numbers and facts and figures in here that you provided us, okay? So that's why we asked for a peer review, so they can condense what's in this booklet, okay, of probably 100 and something pages, down to, so we as planning board members can review and look at it and make an, educated decision on the traffic that you submit to us. So, like I said, it's not something new that we're just asking you tonight for. Most large developments that have come in front of us on the planning board over the past 12 years I've been here, we've asked for the same type of peer review to get that down to our level, to understand it, to get another set of eyes on it, to get a look at the traffic and what's involved and how much traffic is going to be generated from this project. So,
Yeah, so we're in agreement.
pardon me?
I said we're in agreement.
Okay, great, thank you. So just a couple other comments, Mr. Chairman, if I could.
Yeah.
Want to continue? Or
No, go ahead. Go
Okay.
ahead.
So looking at the traffic study that I tried to analyze is 292 the number of total cars coming in and out of that project? Is that the actual number for per day? I thought it was on page 31.
So a weekday daily total is 292.
Weekday total, that's what I gave you the number, 292, correct? Okay, all right. So out of the 292, you're saying that the AM peak hour, which you analyzed, the 7 AM to 9 AM, right, during the morning, that you're only saying that 6 cars are going to come in the morning between 7 and 9?
Get up at the podium.
Good evening, I'm Kim Hazavardian, the traffic engineer with TEP LLC. And I'd be happy to answer your question now, or if you have more, I can wait till.
Yeah, so I'm trying to decipher this traffic study. I did find out that you're saying that the project, between the hours of 7 AM and 9 AM, there's only going to be 6 cars coming in and 12 cars going out, right? From what, am
Well,
I correct saying that?
let me detail what's going on there. Over the course of the day, 24 hours, is 292 in and out total. The weekday AM street peak hour, which is the busiest 4 consecutive 15-minute intervals between 7 and 9 AM, in other words, 1 hour, there's 18 vehicle trips, 6 in and 12 out. And then for the weekday PM street peak hour, the busiest 4 consecutive 15-minute intervals between 3 and 6 p.m., actually 4 and 6 p.m. is 13 in and 12 out. And let me explain where we got that from.
Excuse me, I thought it was 3 PM to 6 PM on the figures here. Is that inaccurate?
We took the traffic counts from 3 to 6. The ITE data, the Institute of Transportation Engineers data, looks at 4 to 6. Okay, so we superimpose the heaviest time between 3 and 6 on the street with the heaviest time from ITE within the PM peak period. And we got the data from the Institute of Transportation Engineers Trip Generation Manual, and that's based on actual traffic counts of actual similar facilities.
Okay, that's a guesstimate, correct?
No, it's real data, and we apply it in the traffic study.
Okay. But it's not Main Street in Tewksbury?
The
They're using that for generic around the state?
No, the traffic volumes that we show for Main Street without the project are actual traffic counts for Main Street, and the traffic numbers for the building are based on studies from around the country. I'm not sure what states.
Okay, all right. So I'm also looking at some of the figures you submitted to us. Was there 47 crashes on Main Street over the past 5 years? Is that
Let me go to that table. Are you on table 4? Page 15?
I think it was, maybe, yeah.
What we did there was we looked at the study area intersections, the Main Street, Assel Street intersection, and the Main Street, Old Main Street North intersection. We looked at the 5 most recent years of completed, finalized data from the state's database, 2017 through 2021, just for those intersections, which is typical. And at the Main Street, Assel Street intersection, there were 47 crashes over the 5 years, and Main Street, Old Main Street North, there were two crashes.
Okay. Do you think that's a high number, or am I not reading this correctly?
We compared the crash rates with the statewide and district-wide averages. So if you take 47 crashes over 5 years and calculate the number of entering vehicles over those years, the rate at that location came out to 1.22 crashes per million entering vehicles. And the MassDOT District 4 average is 0.73 for signalized intersections, and the MassDOT state average is 0.78 for signalized intersections. So the crash rate at that intersection is above the state average. It's not multiple times the state average, but it's above. The other intersection, we did the same kind of calculation, and the crash rate there was below the state average.
Okay. So I won't go on much further because I'm looking for my peer review. But I do read here saying that you believe that does not show a significant impact on overall area for traffic operation, the project of 90 units at that site, right?
That is correct.
So you don't believe that there's a significant impact at all?
Because we ran capacity analysis, we looked at the level of service and delays and queues at the study area intersections without the project, the no-build condition, and with the project, the build condition, and there's very little difference in the results with or without the project, running the computer models.
Okay, well, I don't agree with you, to tell you the truth, so, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Duffy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So without the benefit of a peer review to kind of try to decipher through the data here, you know, I mean, just a couple of things sort of stood out, like, for example, the date of the traffic counts seemed to be, you know, I think I'm looking at June 25th of this year. So school was out, you know, it's a summer day. I think probably there's a substantial drop in traffic when school gets out, where there are, you know, hundreds of kids not going to school that day, either on a school bus or a mom dropping off or whatever. It just seems like that we need another day to kind of offset assuming that could have been a very lightly traveled day, June 25th, like maybe, December something, That just a thought, and I'm pretty sure that a peer reviewer may identify that as a problem. So I just want you to think about that, unless you have some kind of an answer for that.
I have an answer, although the peer reviewer is going to look at it too. We looked at traffic volume patterns in the area, and let me go to the right page in the report so I can give you the right information. We went to Mass DOT's database, and average month is actually 91% of June volumes according to their database, and we're supposed to conduct our traffic study based on average month conditions, not peak month. So theoretically, we could have reduced the volumes to 91% of what we counted, but we left them the way they were. We didn't reduce them.
Well, that doesn't mean that there aren't going to be many, many days other than June 25th if there aren't going to be much heavier traffic there. So regardless of that, and I'm not quite sure what the 91% where that data comes from either, but I think that's something we'll probably take a look at later. And also on the capacity analysis, I'm just wondering where where you came up with the fact that it shows a low to moderate peak hour delay with this project. Like where do you get, that seems like kind of a subjective look at the traffic there. Where does that opinion come from?
I'm going to supplement my answer to the last question, then I'll get to that one. The state has adjustment factors that they publish for the months, and that's what I use, the standard factors. The delay calculations are based on methodology we more or less have to use. The Highway Capacity Manual, which is published by the Federal Highway Administration, and the software we use is called Synchro, and the computer models have inputs like the volumes and peaking within the peak hour, percent of heavy vehicles and so on, and if it's a signalized intersection, signal timing and phasing, and you put all those inputs into the computer model calculates the delays.
So do you see why we may be having a little bit of a problem here, trying to have a discussion with you guys on this without having our own, our own consultant do an analysis of the data? Yeah, I mean, do you guys understand that? Or is that just something that nobody understands here on your end?
No, as we say,
I'm asking you straight up, do you guys understand that?
Yes.
Why it's difficult for us to have a conversation about traffic with you right now? Anybody want to answer that?
well, as I say, we've agreed we're in agreement, so that's been addressed. In the interim period of time, again, we've prepared and now submitted 2 significant traffic analysis reports. We'll go to the peer review, that will address the issue.
Okay. I mean, that's pretty much all I have as far as traffic goes, but there was one other little, and again, that I was just trying to, I was looking at comment 34 on the tech report. And I think I've mentioned in prior meetings that I, without being an expert in those areas, but that I have some concerns over the size of the retaining wall that's going to be over, going down Main Street. And, I don't know that we even have an accurate plan on that, but I think we're talking somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 feet or more in some areas on height. So I see the tech recommended that you move one of your catch basins in away from the wall and to create an impervious situation there. So, because it just seems like that there's a big parcel, a lot of water, water's going to go downhill, and, I just think that, I'm not sure who agreed to set back the catch basin to 14 feet. Would you have an answer on that, Mr. Hammond?
The subsurface infiltration system that was
Yeah.
shifted. So
Yeah.
we took their recommendation, and we did shift the subsurface infiltration system. And based on that, there was no further comment by TEC.
Okay, so they're the ones that felt comfortable enough that by moving it back to 14 feet, that you weren't going to be creating, any kind of undue pressure on the backside of the retaining wall?
Correct.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have for now. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Fuchsia.
So I had talked last time that you guys came in about, not being an expert on all this, and I got this, this over this weekend, and I tried to read it, and again, I'm going to reiterate what everybody else said. None of us can understand what it is as the common person. We're not engineers. In order to have a conversation, we need to understand what it's all about. I guess one of my questions is, so the study, it only does like one day and that's it, and then you get these numbers and you plug them into a system, and that's it? Is that how it works?
We take the traffic counts on one day,
Yep.
and then we look at that day in terms of adjusting to average month. Usually, if our traffic counts are above average month, in comparison to the state monthly adjustment factors, we don't adjust them down. We try to be conservative. And the counts for the site, the building, are based on multiple studies conducted on various days in various locations.
And what days are these? Are they certain days that you do them, or? Is it on a Sunday?
We try to do them on a weekday, not a special event weekday. And one thing that I always think about is we look at the order of magnitude. These projects, we might generate a specific number of trips for a project, but we also can look at the magnitude, and the number of trips a project generates can be categorized as, basically very small, medium, large, and extra large. And if you look at the traffic increases of this project, and at the individual movements around the study area, and that's on figure, and I know the peer review consultant's going to look at this, but I'm going to just point it out. Figure 5 shows the site trips on the network, and at all the individual movements, the increases are single digits. So no matter what the volumes are out there, let's say Route 38 were a low-volume road, let's say Route 38 is a high-volume road, it's still going to only be single-digit increases to the movements.
Okay. Well, I'll be looking forward to the peer review plan, but as far as I'm concerned right now, I know what it's like out there. My review, there's too much traffic already. I have nothing else, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chapman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All right, I'm going to forego the traffic part. I think that horse is quite deceased at this point. So I'm going to talk about a couple things. You mentioned that the people that are living at this complex would have, walking access to the LRTA. Well, I'm assuming you mean walking access since they're taking a bus, and also access to Walmart. So you've made that sidewalk sort of ramp that comes down. That's ADA compatible now? Meaning it's less than 5% slope. And keep in mind, I do recall a project where a sidewalk was off by about 1/4 of an inch and it was torn up and redone at the building department's request. So, so you need what, about 150 feet to get from your 146 to 153.5, bottom to top of that ramp?
So-
You need about 150 feet of length
Are you talking about from the upper portions of the site down to the sidewalk?
I'm talking about from the top of the driveway down to Main Street.
Okay, so I had said in my presentation that the sidewalk is not fully handicap compliant. We've discussed this project with the Architectural Access Board, so we'll be in the process of going for a waiver to that strict adherence to that regulation because of the topography of the site. If needed, we
Well,
can,
but wait a second, but
just let me
you were
finish.
selling it as we have pedestrian access to the bus and to Walmart.
That's not true, Mr. Campia.
That's literally what you said in your opening statement. I'm sorry, Mr. Plunkett's
I
opening
did.
statement, not you.
Okay, well, so we're having these discussions. We can install infrastructure in order to get somebody in a wheelchair from the top of the site down to the sidewalk on Main Street, handicap compliant. We're going to be requesting a waiver to that regulation.
Okay, so you can't make this, and I'm not trying to make this sound worse than it is, but since the sidewalk can't be compatible, there'd be, what, some kind of an elevator or something like that, or?
There'd be a concrete structure to zigzag one down to a grade so they can then travel forward to be handicap compliant to that sidewalk. It's actually in one specific area.
Okay, and where would that go exactly? Right here. And there's a zigzag pattern to get from there down to
Basically,
Main
a
Street?
structure where you go down and you circle yourself back down to a grade that can then bring you handicap compliant out to the sidewalk. So we would essentially lose 2 parking spaces.
Okay, and
Yeah.
from in there, right, you're in the site by a good, 75, 80 feet. Does that just come out and there's like a tunnel at the bottom, something?
There's no
like that?
tunnel. There's essentially a landing, an 8% ramp at 25 feet, a landing, 8% ramp at 25 feet. So you have a series of ramps getting yourself down to grade handicap compliant. I mean, I have a plan that I've already calculated this out to determine whether that was, could actually be accomplished. But we want to have the discussion with the architectural board regarding the strict compliance. The issue came up as to, and Attorney Plunkett can walk through this because he's more versed in this as I, is that essentially the regulation says that if the building has public access for the public in the building, then you need to have handicap compliance from the sidewalk to the building if it's more than 3 units. We were professing that we're a private apartment building. We had handicap compliant spaces in front of each of the 3 buildings to bring somebody into the buildings, handicap access once they arrive at those spaces. But the more we discussed this with the Architectural Access Board, they said it doesn't matter if you have public access within the building. If it's 3 or more units, it has to be handicap compliant. And that's what took us some time to get to this point.
Okay. I'm going to go to your photometric study for a second. As far as the on-site lighting, it seems like it does a pretty good job of not spilling over, but there's no lighting going down that driveway that I could see. At least there were zeros on the photometric study going down the driveway. And there's zeros in that bottom right-hand 2 or 3 parking spots. There's no light.
That's correct. We're not proposing lighting at the entrance.
So if it's dark and rainy and an ambulatory person is walking down that sidewalk, they can't see if there's black ice or anything else that they might slip on. I was just curious why you stopped the light and didn't bring it all the way down closer to Main Street to give people nice lit access coming up and down, especially with, people on e-scooters and bicycles and things of that nature.
I'm sure we could add some accent lighting along the entrance to.
Okay, I think, other than the cars, I think people, if you have a sidewalk, I think people are going to want to be able to see where they're going.
Sure.
And I think they'd rather not that be just oncoming headlights.
Sure.
One of my last concerns, well, actually, two more things. Number one, you sent us an email saying that if you provided some additional documentation called a SHAPS, a new account in SHAPS, that the permit will then proceed to the 25% review stage. But the original opening remarks made it seem like this was all but a done deal. I mean, I know Mass DOT, I'm sure, has roller skates on, but how are we going from 25% to done deal in a matter of 2 weeks?
Have you worked with Mass DOT before?
Yes.
Okay. So,
It took me 3 months to get them to come inspect an electric room.
okay, well, essentially, Mass DOT gets you to the 25% stage, and then they go to process the permit, believe it or not. So we've generated an email from Mass Highway, which I believe was generated to Ms. Louder, that essentially says, all the comments have been addressed, except the first one, which is to put BLJB Holdings LLC as the applicant within the SHAPS system, which I did over the last 2 weeks. I'm still waiting for that particular technical comment to be addressed. That's the only comment right now for them to ultimately issue the permit. How Mass Highway does what they do, I'm not going to comment here, but that's how they do it.
Okay. I was unaware of that, but that's certainly interesting. All right, so back to lighting for 1 minute. You have one of the elevations there, I think it's the board that's on the floor there, the bottom elevation. So that bottom is showing, that bottom one is showing Assel Street looking south, is that correct? Am I remembering that? Am I remembering?
Street looking north.
What's the one underneath that, the one in the bottom center?
This is Route 30. Traveling north.
Okay. Okay, so we don't have one from Assel Street looking south. Because I know there's one particular house that is going to be very close to the corner of, very close to Building 3. And part of my concern there is the height and the proximity. While you have no site lighting exterior to the project that's going to be shining into their yard, you are going to have, let's see here, quite a few windows. Let's say. Yeah, so you're going to have a bank of, say, 40-ish windows, some of which are going to be probably hallways and things like that, but a bank of about 40-ish windows shining onto their property from about 50, 60 feet away at a height of 53 feet according to the elevation which you gave me, which I appreciate.
Yep.
How are we going to protect that resident from that much light spillage?
Well, the
40
light,
windows are residents, especially this time of year.
oh, so to physically see a light is what you're saying? That's not spillage off the site, it's to see the light in the
I think they're
building?
going to see a lot of light.
Yeah, they're going to see some lights in the building, yes. So we do have an existing row of trees here. The house is here, single-family residence. So there is a portion of this portion of the building.
There's actually a gap in the trees. And right now, of course, all the trees, well, maybe not right now, but in the pictures and whatnot, all the trees have leaves, but right now, those trees don't have leaves, which means you can see everything as if there were pretty much no trees.
Yeah, so we can add some evergreen trees in that gap.
So I'm just thinking that resident might like to retain their privacy, which they have right now, and not have whatever is going on their property subject to view. And I'm sure they don't want to see what's going on, in the private residence of their potentially new neighbors.
We can add some evergreen trees in this gap.
Okay. All right, that's all the comments I have for today, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, all right. These, this isn't for, we're not going to do it for, this is kind of a discussion for the next time, but I just want to give you a heads up on just a couple of questions I'll probably have traffic related, but I'm not going to get into the details because I want to find out, but one of the days that I'm interested in, and I don't know whether you do or don't have data for it or how you can account for it, is Saturdays. Because if you drive in that area on a Saturday, there's a significant amount of traffic at that light for a good chunk of the day. So I'll just ask to be prepared to possibly have a conversation about how Saturdays are accounted for, impacted, whatever. Don't have to do it right now. The other one would be your timeframe for the study with the 2017 to 2021. A question I will have that I'll want to be looking for an answer for is how the 2019 and 20 COVID reductions affect that time frame in terms of accidents, et cetera, et cetera. And one possible way to deal with that would be, is there a set of numbers for the previous 5 years, accidents and that kind of stuff, as a comparison to see if the 2019-20 kind of cutback on people out and about really drastically changed numbers? I know they're the most current, and that's fine. I'm just asking, as a comparison number, how that might impact, were there really, or should there really have been
Maybe
100 accidents? You know what I mean? Because that's how it would have been had people not been leaving their home for 2 years of the 5 years. So those are two things that I'm probably going to want to discuss. So if you're prepared for those next time, that would be good.
improvements to the.
Other than that, obviously, I don't have anything else on traffic now until we move on in the process. With that, I will open it up to the audience for anyone with any questions, comments, or concerns. You can come up and give them. I'll make note that we did receive a couple of letters. They'll go into the record, one from Justin Garafano, and one from Tamara and John Ward. Those will go into the record. So the members have those, so we've seen them. But if anyone wishes to make any comments, feel free to come up, give your name and your address, and the floor will be yours.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask two clarifying questions before we move into the comments?
Yep.
Thank you. First item is that this review of the peer review of the traffic will commence once a deposit is submitted to the board's office to fund the peer review. And the other item I wanted to clarify is whether the board would like the peer reviewer to be in attendance at the December 15th meeting.
Yeah, I think it would move this process along, because otherwise we're going to run the risk that we're going to have a question or something that we can't get clarified, and that'll just screw everybody up. So I think it would be best to have them here.
I'll plan to have somebody here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, if you give your name and your address, the floor is yours.
Ralph Bliss, 249 Astle Street. First, I want to commend the board for,
Just pull the mic over a little bit so we pick it up, if you don't mind. Thank you.
I'd like to commend the board for continuing to peel apart some of the data that I think has been difficult to take a look at it. And on that thread, I'm just going to depart. I had a 46-year career in engineering and a different discipline, looking at a variety of projects, looking at an awful lot of data. I would please request that when your peer reviewer looks at whatever is provided, they determine the applicability of the data that went into the assessment. Some of these assessments that have been provided, that have been submitted in the past, were based on paper studies that I would be highly suspicious have little applicability to the configuration at that intersection. Specifically, the left turn access from 38 headed toward Lowell to get into the facility and to try to make left turns getting out of that facility and a 5-way intersection X number of feet up the road. Positioning that then across the street from, a side road, and all of the proximity to the retail coming out of Walmart, et cetera. So peace. The horse is dead. Mr. Champa, you made a great analogy there. Last time, and you, speaking of Mr. Champa, you brought up a point that we had requested, the board had requested an elevation view of this site coming out of Astle Street down toward Main Street. I don't see that here. And I'd be willing to bet you're looking at a 30 to 40-foot elevation above the grade of the road facing back up Astle Street. Point made that the residents immediately adjacent to the property are going to have some issues. The residents in this facility are going to have issues with car headlights shining in their back windows. And while I appreciate the efforts to provide these elevations and their illustrations, the foliage that I see in these pictures is going to be in trees that aren't going to be that size until well after I'm dead, and I don't know what you guys are hoping for, but you put in trees this big, doesn't cut it. So, again, I appreciate the efforts by the board. Please continue. And again, please take a good hard look at that data. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else with any questions, comments, or concerns? I think he's going to beat you to the podium, so you'll be next. Oh, good. Give your name and your address for the record, please.
My name is Walter D. Grant. I live at 330 Astle Street. Coming March, I'll be there 70 years. Right? I'm looking at this project here. They've moved the driveway down away from the waffle shop. My question is, so a year from now, when it's a total disaster, how are you going to retrofit this with a set of traffic lights? Traffic lights have to go in right at the get-go, properly sequenced with Walmart and Pike Street and Astle Street, so people can come in and come out. The way this is now, we're going to go 50 feet from Walmart and put another traffic light. It's got to be sequenced, it's all going to be figured in, and it needs to be paid for by the developers, because it's going to fall on us, the residents of Tewksbury, and we'll have to involve the state of Massachusetts with it. And we all know what that is like. And it will be years and millions of dollars before we get this mess straightened out. So right from the get-go, I don't care what studies work in other parts of the country, here or there, this is Route 38, the entryway to our town, my neighborhood, right? And it's got to be set up right from the get-go. What about runoff off the hill? 10 years ago, we had the winter from hell. There was no place to put snow. We get another winter like that, and we get heavy spring rains. The people on Veranda Street in those neighborhoods, they're going deep, because all that water's going to wash right off the hill. I don't care what kind of retention you have. Okay, and that was just a short 10 years ago. What about the salt and the brine that's going to be put onto those driveways to keep them ice-free? All washing down the catch basins out on Route 38, let alone, like they mentioned, right? Residents trying to walk steep sidewalks, okay? Now, we all know the number of cars that are coming in and out of there, and that's just how it's going to be. So without proper traffic signals, right from the get-go, part of the project, part of the cost of doing business here in the town of Tewksbury, as far as I'm concerned. If it's good for the residents, it'll be good for the residents with proper traffic conditions and the rest of it that goes along with it. Right? And I've had my say here now. But if it isn't done right from the get-go, it's going to be a mess, and it's going to be years. Just, if you look at the lights at the bottom of Astle Street, Pike Street, and when they first went in, Pike Street and Astle Street wasn't just the residents that were cutting each other off, it was all the people cutting through. Until finally, a short few years later, they put up another light. So Astle Street could go and Pike Street could go. But that took a couple of years before that got straightened out. Now, depending on where the curb cut is, right, and the way this thing runs uphill, right, how are we going to retrofit this and make it easy and not make the traffic anymore while we got equipment in there working on it? Not going to happen. It's got to go in now. It's got to go in, it's got to be part of the plan, and it's got to be fully synchronized with the other lights. That's how it has to be. Otherwise, this is, anyhow, I've had my say. Another gentleman coming up.
Name and address for the record, please. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Don Dooley, 244 Astle. My wife and I have lived on Astle Street for 36 years. I was just counting up how many times we've gone through that intersection down at the bottom of Astle and Pike. It's roughly 50,000 times. And we know several other people have lived here longer than us. So I don't think there's any better traffic experts than the people in this room. And we've been through 38 all times of the night, day, all sorts of weather. And it's not just the increase of the flow of traffic, it's that spot is also a lane merge. And you've got people, when the light turns green at Walmart, they're coming south, they're racing to do the merge, and now you're going to have someone doing a left turn to try to beat that. And the other side is the Astle Street light. You have people going forward at full speed. So there's not just problems with the backup, but there's also, when there's no backup, you have very fast traffic going on 4 lanes. And one of the gentlemen made an indication that people are going to walk out of this compound and get to go for a cup of coffee. I don't think I would ever walk across 38 at any time. And I think that someone just got hit this morning and died this morning. It was just down the street. So it's just a very dangerous place, and I think just it's not the right spot to add a lot of traffic or a lot of left turns, as Ralph mentioned. So not to mention the way it's going to affect our quality of life when we're starting to look at these huge buildings. This is the entrance to Tewksbury, and I don't think it makes a good statement to the entrance to the town. So, yeah, that's it. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Questions, comments, or concerns? Oh, snuck it in another while.
Hi, Tom Bowley, 852 East Street. I just want to take a moment to thank the board
East Street.
for pursuing this traffic situation. I use that road every day. I'm down there at least once a day, and the traffic congestion is unreal. And to think that there's going to be cars taking left-hand turns in front of you and left-hand on both ways going north and south, that's only going to make it a much worse situation than what we already have up there. And we're lucky that we don't have more accidents and more bad accidents up there. I think the whole project needs a good review. It's almost like it's too big for the piece of land that it's going on. Do I have the answer what that is? No. I won't profess to do that, but that's my own opinion. That's all I'd like to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Questions, comments, or concerns at this time? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board. Mr. Latta, I'd just like to make a note regarding the, our consultant's review. Just if you make a note to them on that Saturday question that I had and the 2000, I don't know whether it's 13 to 17 or 12 to 16 timeframe in comparison to the one being used for this, with the COVID question. And then as has come up, maybe some specific attention to that left out, left in question regarding the crossing of the lanes and how that works in real life here as opposed to, the generic numbers. All right? Any other?
If I could add one, Mr. Johnson. I believe we had quite a discussion between our traffic consultant, not necessarily the one that's going to do this, and another traffic consultant about that intersection was a grade F, and they're hoping that after the improvements, Mass DOT is hoping to elevate that grade. If the information is available, I'd like to know if that grade has now gotten better than an F, and if so, would this project drop us back down below? Or if it's still an F, then that just means that anything we do is going to make a very bad situation worse. I was not particularly thrilled at that time that the fact that it was already failed, that you aren't technically making it worse by letter grade, but I'd be curious to see if we finally kind of gotten out of the woods, and then whether or not this project would put us back into the woods, or we'd still be out of the woods.
Said otherwise?
All
right.
right, Mr. Chairman.
So with that, I'll entertain a motion. You guys want to put this on for the one in December?
What's that?
You want to put this on for the one in December?
Yes, the
Okay.
15th, you said?
So we have 7:10 on December 15th, 7:10. Yes or no?
For the petitioner's information, there are 2 applications ahead of that that will likely not result in them going on right away at 7:10 or 7:15.
Right,
Yeah.
obviously.
I have to check something, Chairman.
And then just in your FYI, the schedule that we approved for the new year starts with the January 12th meeting, followed by a January 26th meeting, just for FYI purposes, if that factors in.
I'm here on the 15th, so I'm fine.
Well, why don't we do you for the 15th, and then if it turns out you guys have conflicts and whatnot, better to get you on. If it's ready to go, then let's go. If not, then,
I just have to check a Lowell hearing that night.
like I said, if it becomes an issue, you know,
Okay.
this is a one-off
Appreciate
then
that.
into January, but if we push you to January and you could have made the 15th,
Okay.
you're just wasting
Yeah.
time, so. All right, so then we'll do 7:10 on December 15th. Do I have a motion? A motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Moving on to no agenda item, moving on to correspondence, there wasn't any.
Nope.
Moving on to other business not known at the time of the posting of the agenda.
Nothing to me here.
Hearing none. Moving on to adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. We'll see you on the 15th.